Each week, U.S. Bank brings us stories of inspirational athletes who have overcome adversity in their lives to succeed in school and in sports.
Robert, tonight we meet a football kicker and soccer player who endured a life-threatening accident when he was just 1 year old, but is making the most of his second chance. When tragedy hit the town of Paradise, Lucas Giarusso knew he had to do something.
Your cash donation can help a place what these students need most.
Collecting donations at his playoff football games, the junior kicker from Menlo-Atherton helped raise nearly $5,000 for the victims of Paradise High School. Lucas has always had a knack for helping people.
It's a good thing to do and to give back. I feel like it's sort of my duty and my obligation.
Like the victims of Paradise, Lucas himself is no stranger to tragedy.
He was 1 year old and he and his sister were playing tag, and they chased down the side yard of the house, and about a minute later his sister was standing there and said, "Mom, Lucas has been hit by a car for real." I found him face down in a 14-inch pool of blood, kind of under the wheel of a car. And when I picked him up, his face was just not there.
Lucas was rushed to the hospital and immediately taken into surgery to repair the damage to his face.
When the paramedics cut his sweatpants off, his diaper had tread marks. At the time, Lucas only spoke Spanish, and he had a very small vocabulary, but I do remember so clearly that day in the emergency room when he was waiting to go into surgery. He just looked at me and he said, "No más, mama, no más." He was just saying no more pain, no more of this bad stuff. And while he was in the surgery, the woman who hit him called a prayer circle in her own living room. And Lucas came out, and he did have his sight, and although his leg had been hit and broken, his vertebrae was not touched. And this, to me, just felt like a miracle.
Lucas spent the next 2 months of his young life in a cast from the chest down. And when the cast came off, Lucas had to learn how to crawl and walk again. 15 years later, a scar is all that remains of the physical damage caused by the accident. But it turns out that tragic day would have a much different impact on Lucas's life.
I sought out the woman and I asked her to tell me about her church, a church that would pray for my baby. And I went to see that church. In the pew was a little flyer that said, short-term mission trip to Mexico.
The Giarussos followed the women's church on the mission trip to Mexico. That was back in 2009.
We've gone back over 30 times since. Now we have friends there.
Lucas spent most of those trips visiting the Bethel Orphanage in the city of Juarez.
I really felt like I knew that community, and I felt like there was something I could give back. And then I thought of how much I really enjoyed sports.
With the help of his family, Lucas designed and constructed a playground for the orphanage.
Me and my dad and my mom, we all worked for countless hours planning it, and of course the logistics of going down to Mexico to build a construction project. Like with my age of having to balance school, it was all really difficult, but I think that difficulty is what made it really pay off in the end, and seeing the final project made me really happy to see it done and see the kids enjoying it.
I probably wouldn't have wandered in to that church and seen that flyer and gone on that first mission trip had she not hit him and prayed for him.
I realized how blessed I am, because I was almost blind. I may have had my leg amputated. I could have been like quadriplegic or fully paralyzed, and none of those things happened. So I think just I count my blessings and realize how lucky I am to be in the situation that I am today.
The Giarussos believe Lucas's recovery is nothing short of a miracle. And in turn, Lucas is using his second chance to bring miracles to others. So Spanish is actually Lucas's first language, so when he goes on the trips to Mexico, he's able to connect with the people and the children, and he says it's just a home away from home.
Yeah, such a crazy story, and really the only thing that you could recognize after that horrible accident is just the tiny little scar on his forehead.
Exactly.
Yeah, and what is he doing right now?
He's in Kenya. He spent his winter break volunteering there, playing soccer. He's great.
He is. And so Lucas is our Be Human Inspirational Athlete this week. To nominate your favorite inspirational athlete, download the Be Human app in the App Store and use the tag Inspirational Athlete to share what makes your nominee so inspirational. Be Human is humanizing social media. Be human, inspire, and be inspired.